Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Get Good at Open Transport Tycoon. Now, in the last episodes, we connected a lot of coal mines to our network, and all the coal mines are connected. So I think it's time we start looking at other types of cargo to transport. Now, I saw a lot of iron mines on the map, and as you can see, iron ore is the red line here. It's quite high in the cargo payment rate graph, and it's right under steel and coal. The good thing about transporting iron ore, well, you have to transport it to a steel mill, so then all the iron gets converted into steel. Then you can transport all the steel to a factory, and then when you transport all the steel to a factory, it produces goods, which are also quite high in the list. So yeah, with iron ore you can make a whole chain of cargo to produce. Anyway, as you can see, there's quite a few iron ore mines. The problem with some of them is we've neglected them for almost 10 years. So if you don't transport any of the cargo produced by an industry, it's very likely that its production will drop. So some of them have their production dropped really low, and they may close within several years. So I think it's best if we first connect the ones that still have a high production, and then later we'll connect the ones that have lower production, and it's probably better to use smaller trains there. For example, if you have a wagon that can hold 30 tons of iron ore and you only produce 24 tons of iron ore per year, then if you put a 7-tile train with 13 wagons, then it would take longer than a year to actually fill it. So it's probably to use some shorter trains for the mines that don't produce a lot, and they will have to drive back and forth a few times more than a longer train would, but at least they keep making money. And if you transport, I believe it's more than 60% of what a production facility produces, then there's a higher chance that it will actually increase its production. So by transporting a lot of the iron produced from these mines that produce very little, their production may increase over time. Anyway, we should first look for a steel mill to bring our iron ore to. If we look on the map, we see a few gray squares. There's one over here and one over here. Those are steel mills, and I think it's best if you transport our iron ore to a steel mill that's near the edge of the map, just because the distance to many of the mines is longer. And as you may know by now, the further we transport our cargo, the more money we get for it. So it's probably best if we bring it to this steel mill over here. Well, then later we'll have to make a line towards a factory to bring our steel towards. But let's first make sure the steel mill gets some iron ore so it can produce steel in the first place. Alright, well, unlike the power plant, this factory also produces steel. Now, if we only make one station for it, the iron ore will then be unloaded on the station, and the steel will also be loaded on the station. So it will get very busy with trains. Now, for production facilities like this, it's usually the best to make actually two separate stations. One for loading the steel and one for unloading the iron. Why is that, you might think? Well, let's say we have a station with 4 platforms, and let's say we have 4 trains that are loading steel. Now, if for example no iron gets brought in for a while and then all the steel trains are waiting here, they will be blocking all the platforms and no iron trains will be able to get in anymore and transport any iron to the station in the first place. So no more steel gets produced, all the stations are blocked, and basically you have a gridlock in your system. So that's why it's best to have separate stations for unloading the iron and producing the steel. So let's make 2 stations here then, and then connect them to the main line. By the way, you can also give your stations a name. You can press the rename button here. And for example, let's call this one steel. And let's call this one iron. That way it's more clear what purpose these stations serve. Alright, we have connected our 2 stations now. So here I made a station for iron, here I made a station for steel. I've actually connected these 2 entry lines towards the station and also from the stations. I may have to redo this part later if it gets a lot busier, if we end up getting a lot of traffic jams here. But at least for now the trains are able to get anywhere. So as you can see here, I made one of those trumpet junctions. So here they pass over the main line, and then this one goes with one of these clover leaves, and this path goes to the main line like this, and this should work quite well. Anyway, let's connect some iron mines and let's see what happens. Now, as pointed out by one of the people who commented on my YouTube channel, you can actually use field ports to help speed up the orders for your trains. So for example, I made a depot here for this iron mine, and I want them to go to this station here, borrow iron, to bring the iron there. So we'll just build a new train like normal, make some iron ore hoppers, and now we'll tell it to go first to the mines, full load any cargo, and then for the next order we just click on this station here in the field port that we just opened. Let me redo that. Alright, let's first go to the mines here, full load any cargo, and then we'll click this station here. And then we don't have to scroll all the way to the station in order to set the order, but we can just do it from the field port. It's just a simple time saver, especially if your map is really big, then it definitely saves some time. In order to make a field port, just go and display maps, this icon, and then if you hold the mouse button down, you can select extra field port. And in this field port you can also drag, or you can zoom out. If you hold the right mouse button, you can move around. Also make it bigger if you want. That way it's easier to find the spot that you want. And you can make it smaller again. It's just nice to have an extra field port if you have to set orders for many trains. I don't know if I mentioned it, but that trick was pointed out to me by Stu. So thank you, Stu. Now, there used to be an iron mine here, but I can see it's no longer there. So yeah, I neglected it for so long that the production dropped down to 0, and then it just closed. So yeah, that just happens to industries that you don't service. Now this station is close to the main line. We don't want to directly connect it to the main line with a short track, but you want to have some buffer track just so trains can wait in front of the station without blocking the main line. So let's build it on this side and then just connect it with the track that's a little bit longer than what would normally be necessary. Because these trains are 7 tiles long, you'll also want the rail towards the station to be at least 7 tiles long. Just so a train can wait in front of the station. Now right here there's a iron mine right next to a station we already have. We could make a separate station for the iron, which would probably be the best solution, but we can also just add tell our iron trains to go to this station and load from here. Now, one thing we should be careful of is that, for example, now both tracks are occupied by coal trains, and if there was an iron train that came here, it would just have to wait here. So if we would add iron trains to this station, we would have to make sure that there can always be an iron train in at least one of the tracks. So if we decide to add iron to here, well, since we have 2 coal trains, we will want to have at least one extra track, just so we can at least always have at least one iron train waiting in the station. Let's add 2 tracks, just so you have some extra capacity. Right, let's make sure that trains can come and go from every track here. So from this line they are now able to go to this station, to this track, and also to this track, and also the other way around. From this track they can go to here, this track they can go to this line, from this track they can go to this line, and from this track they can go to this line. So now all we have to do is add some iron trains to this line. Probably 3 platforms would have been enough, but the production of these mines could increase in the future, and then we are prepared at least. Now this station here is really close to the end station, and it only produces 50 tons of iron ore. So here I will just go with a shorter train and just have to travel back and forth a few more times. But this should enable it to actually keep bringing in some money, just so it stays profitable. I could also go for road transport here, but I'll leave road transport for a later episode. Road transport is quite good for low capacity production facilities. Now, as you can see, this steel mill is now starting to produce steel as the iron gets brought in. It's actually quite a lot of steel that gets produced. So I think it's now time to actually bring this steel to a factory. Now, we want to bring in the biggest amount of money that we can. So let's go find a factory somewhere on the map. Factories are purple colored here. So there's one over here, there's two over here, and here's one that's practically on the other side of the map, which is perfect for us. So let's go find it. It's right over here. Now, just like the steel mill, the factory also, well, you bring in goods, you bring in steel. You can also bring in livestock or grain, but that's for a later episode. We bring in steel and then we produce goods. So here also we'll want to have two separate stations to prevent deadlock if too many goods trains are waiting in the station. So again, let's make two stations here. Alright, now let's make some steel trains. So we'll use this other station, the steel station. Our steel trains will wait there. Full load any cargo and let's bring it to the factory on the other side of the map. And let's clone this train a few times. And let's see how it goes. Meanwhile, I'll start making the goods station for the factory. Now, it will probably be easier to make the junction on this side of the track, because it's the space here is quite limited, and we want to have some buffer space for the trains where they can wait if the station is full. Alright, the first steel train here has just arrived and it brings in a lot of money. Let's see how our station here is doing. Looks like there's no trains waiting at the station and there's a lot of steel, so we can probably a few extra steel trains here. Now it looks like this junction is getting really crowded now. So we'll probably redo this one later to make it more efficient. Actually, one thing we can already do is make a separate exit here for the steel trains, so they don't interfere with the iron ore trains. Anyway, at this factory, let's rename our stations. So we'll call this one steel, and we'll call this one goods. With all the steel that's coming in, this factory should also start producing lots of goods, which we will have to transport to a city. Well, I'll keep that for the next episode. So anyway, that was all for this episode. We have now connected all the coal mines in the map and most of the iron mines as well. We have plenty of money now rolling in, and in the next one we'll start transporting goods. Alright, hope you enjoyed the episode and we'll see you again in the next one. See you later.